Hello and welcome to Knotted Stitches Addendum, and this is because I have solved the problem I was having with some of my knot stitches and felt like I should go over that. So, for a moment we're going to talk about spin and twist. So if I have this lovely thread that shows my twist really well, I can see that it's an S twist. And to show what I mean, if we draw an S and a Z and kind of spread them out a little bit, we can see that the S is going to angle downward from left to right, and the Z is going to angle downward from right to left. So if I grab my thread and I look at the downward angle of the twist, and it's going from left to right like an S, so I know that it's an S twist. So when we are, sorry, I'm getting stuck in my pages here. There's a lot of extraneous information here, so we're going to go over it again. But I have an S twist thread here, and if I wrap in the same twist with an S, it sort of undoes all of my twist in my thread and makes my knots kind of loose. Versus if I wrap in the opposite direction, it tightens up the twist in my thread and gives me tidier knots. So let's give that a try. We have an S twist, and we're going to do a Z wrap, which means we're going to wrap in the opposite direction. So first let's do a French knot. So if I were to wrap this direction, just be able to see how that's moving right or left to right, so that's an S. And also see, just while I'm here, notice how it kind of pulls apart the twist and it spins a little bit looser. So what if we wrap in the opposite direction, that Z? It pulls it a little bit tighter, as we can see here, and down. So this is our first style of French knot, which is the classic way of doing it. But I find that sometimes that classic way of doing it isn't tidy enough for me. Oh, not too bad. Now why don't we try our second style of French knot? But again, I want a Z twist. So for this one, I'm just going to put my fingers completely in the way of the camera. I'm putting my finger down on top of the needle so that I catch my wraps. And I'm going to pull through. This gets a lot easier once I clear that double. There we are. And then down through the fabric. Sometimes breaking it up like that can make it a little bit easier to keep it from falling apart. Now let's give it a try with the fake French knot, which is actually a bullion knot. So again, I'm going to keep my thread on top, come back up, and then Z wrap, and then I'm going to pull, where is it? That side. My fingers are entirely in the way. Pull that through. And down. To give the same look as a French knot, but I did this one a little bit wider, a little bit looser, but this one is just a little bit more secure if you're worried about things pulling through on the back. Now let's move on to a proper bullion knot, where we'll give ourselves a little bit more space in between. Again, I want to keep some thread on the inside, so I've gone up and then down with the entire length of that knot's going to be, and then I'm coming up again right next to, or if you have a wider fabric, then you could come up in the same hole, and I want to Z twist, or Z wrap rather. So again, I want that left to right going up direction. Give it enough wraps to cover that much. I happen to like to tighten. Oh, that got a bit messy. Hang on. tighten up before I pull through, just because then I'm less likely to lose thread on the back. I can be really clumsy sometimes, and remember that sometimes we give it a little bit of a wiggle, and that'll help us get it through. So feel just a little bit of wiggle. Come on. This is where having in a better frame would be good. There we are, sorry. Okay, so if I unwrap just a little bit with a wiggle and then twist it the other direction. Again, when I'm pulling 2 threads through, it's really tricky. As soon as I have just 1 thread, that makes my life easier. I can't really do this without keeping my fingers in the way, so I'm sorry about that. You'll just have to trust me and then see at the end. Okay, there we are. And then I'm back down again here. So we're going to do that again, see if I can manage it without getting my fingers in the way. But already we're noticing that this is a lot tidier than the knots we were doing last time, because we're wrapping in the correct direction. So let's come up over here and back down. And up again. Okay, and again, Z wrap. So if ever you feel like you don't remember which is S and Z, that's okay. I forget all the time. The trick is look at it and look at those diagonals. All right, let's see if I can do this without blocking with my hands. Now normally, well, I can definitely do it without blocking my hands if I just pull the whole thing apart. Let's try that again. I was going to say normally I like to have more of a tail on my thread, but I think this time it's better if I don't. So Z wrap. Get enough wraps to cover that space, maybe one more. I'm going to tighten this a little bit before we go through. And I want to pull through. There we go. You really do want your fingers in the way here, because having a thumb just on top there, or using your fingernail to kind of hold things in place, just makes it all a little bit easier. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to put my finger here, and then we see if I don't catch the thread there, give it a little bit of a twist, pull it tight. Make sure the thread doesn't get knotted on itself. There we go. My apologies, my fingers are probably entirely in the way there. But look at those tight little spirals. Looks just like a capacitor. And that is much tidier, stays together easier, and doesn't come untwisted on itself. So, update on how we did our knots last time. We figured out how to make them better, and that is, if you look at your thread, most 2-ply floss is done on an S-twist. Have a look at your thread. If you have hand-spun thread, you can also check that out to see what it looks like. And if you're working with a DMC, looks like that's also an S-twist that I have there. You may have to get some magnification going, but check out the twist on your thread, and then you want the opposite direction of wrap. So Z wrap to get a nice tidy knot. Thanks, friends. Happy stitching.